I'm a storyteller, and if you can't sleep, this story is good for you. Tell me what time you're watching my video and what country you're from. I upload daily at the same time. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Now, close your eyes, settle into bed, and listen closely. Tonight's story is called Don't Open Your Eyes. It started with the tapping. Always the tapping. Soft at first, almost gentle, like the sound of fingernails brushing against glass. Julia had lived in the cabin for 2 weeks before it began. It nestled deep in the Appalachian woods. The cabin was meant to be her retreat, a quiet escape, a place where no one could bother her, not even herself. The days were peaceful. Birds chirped, leaves rustled, sunlight filtered through the trees in golden shards. But at night, things changed. The first time she heard the tapping, she assumed it was a branch. She hadn't drawn the curtains. There was no need, she thought. No one out here, just trees and foxes. But that night, as she lay in bed and the darkness stretched around her, the tapping started, soft and deliberate, at her bedroom window. She ignored it. The next night, it came again. Same time, same rhythm, tap, tap, tap. And it was just then, when her eyes flicked open, that she remembered something the realtor had told her. There's no tree near that side of the house. She didn't open the curtains. She never opened them again. Instead, she tried to convince herself it was nothing. Squirrels, wind, her imagination. Sleep deprivation does strange things to people. It warps the senses. But then the whispering began. It didn't start at the window. It started inside. Soft words, low and breathy, like someone speaking directly into her ear from just behind her. Sometimes it said her name. Sometimes it only breathed. And sometimes it said, "Don't open your eyes." She thought about leaving. She even packed once, her bag by the door, keys in her hand. But something stopped her. Not fear, not logic, something heavier, like gravity, like the cabin itself was holding her there. The whispers got worse. They didn't wait for nighttime anymore. She'd hear them while brushing her teeth, when standing in the shower, when walking through the hall. Always behind her, always just out of reach, and always whispering, "Don't open your eyes." She began sleeping during the day, when the cabin felt warmer, safer, but sleep was shallow, thin, like drifting over ice that could crack at any moment. And it always cracked. The tapping would return. Now not just at the window, but at the walls, the doors, even beneath her bed. She tried recording it, used her phone, set it up before bed. The next morning, the footage was corrupted, all of it. But at the 2:16 a.m. mark, she heard something. Clear as day. Julia, not whispered this time, spoken. The next night, she didn't sleep at all. She sat in bed, eyes squeezed shut, clutching her phone like a weapon. The cabin creaked and shifted around her. Time passed like syrup. And then, the voice came again. Closer now. Don't open your eyes. The whisper was inside her room. She wanted to scream, wanted to run. But she remembered the old rule. You don't run in dreams. You don't move when the thing is near. She stayed perfectly still. And that's when she felt it. Cold breath. Right above her face. Her fingers trembled around the phone. Her heart beat like it was trying to punch through her chest. She kept her eyes closed, but it kept breathing. Julia, open them. She clenched her jaw, muscles locked. The voice laughed, not loud, just amused, like it was savoring her fear. It leaned closer and said, "If you open your eyes, you'll never close them again." She didn't open them. At some point, she passed out. Shock or sleep, she couldn't tell. But when she woke, daylight was streaming through the curtains. She sat up, heart pounding, and noticed something new. Scratches, all along the wall opposite her bed. Deep gouges, too high for an animal, too erratic for tools, as if something had tried to climb out. The next few days blurred. She stopped going outside, didn't cook, didn't eat, just sat in the living room, phone in hand, eyes red from lack of sleep. Then the door creaked, not the front one, the basement. Julia hadn't opened that door since she moved in. The realtor had told her it was just storage. But that night, it opened on its own, and something came up. She didn't see it. She didn't dare look. She sat with her back to the door, hands shaking. It stepped closer. She could hear the boards groan beneath its weight. The voice returned. "Don't open your eyes." She was crying now, not sobbing, just tears sliding slowly, silently down her cheeks. It moved closer. Now, inches away. "Why won't you look at me?" She shook her head. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then the voice shifted, deeper, angrier. "Open your eyes." She didn't. Something cold touched her shoulder. Long fingers. Too many. She faded. When she woke, it was morning. The basement door was shut, locked. She ran to her car, sped down the dirt road, and didn't stop until she reached a gas station an hour away. But the story doesn't end there, because now she can't close her eyes. Every time she does, she hears it. Breathing, whispering, scratching. She's gone 3 nights without sleep. She called a priest, called doctors. No one believes her, and now she's sure of one thing: it followed her. Last night, she took a picture of her bedroom while the lights were off. There was something in the photo. Tall, slender, bent backward, its eyes wide open but upside down. She deleted it. Today she called me, her voice barely recognizable. She told me she hadn't slept in 4 days. She said she was seeing things when she blinked. She said she thought her reflection was smiling when she wasn't. Then she said something strange. It's teaching me to see in the dark. She hung up. That was 3 hours ago, and now I get her words out of my head because something strange is happening here, right now. As I sit and tell you this story, there's tapping at my window, and I don't live in the woods. I live on the 15th floor of an apartment building in the middle of the city. There's nothing out there. There shouldn't be. But the tapping continues. Tap, tap, tap. And just now, I heard it whisper, "Don't open your eyes." Now, make sure your doors are locked, the lights are low, and whatever you do, don't let your foot hang off the side of the bed. Tonight's story is called Beneath the Bed. When Harper moved into her new apartment, she wasn't looking for anything fancy. She wanted quiet, a place to be alone. The building was old, brick-walled and ivy-covered, and her unit sat at the very end of the 3rd floor hallway, a little studio tucked away like a secret. The rent was cheap, too cheap if she was honest, but it was quiet, the kind of quiet you don't usually find in cities. At first, she thought she'd lucked out. She didn't notice anything strange for the first few days, just the usual noises, the hum of pipes, a creaky board here or there. The floor sloped slightly near the windows, and sometimes the lights flickered, but she chalked it up to old wiring. She set up her bed in the center of the room, a full-size mattress on a cheap metal frame. No box spring, no bed skirt, just enough clearance underneath for storage bins or shoes. But she kept it empty. She liked to see the floor beneath her. The trouble started one night when she dropped her phone. It slid off the bed and clattered under the frame. She groaned, rolled over, and peered beneath it, and that's when she saw them. Eyes. 2 small glinting points of pale blue, far too deep under the bed, too wide apart. She blinked and they vanished. She laughed it off. Maybe the reflection of her phone light in the glossy floor. Maybe she was tired. It was nearly 2 a.m. after all. She retrieved the phone, crawled back into bed, and dismissed the thought. But the next morning she found something strange. Under the edge of the bed, nearly flush against the wall, was a single black thread, thick and fuzzy, like a strand of carpet from somewhere else. The problem was, she didn't have carpet. Her entire floor was wood, and she threw it away, forgot about it. That night she heard scratching, not mice, not that light, skittering sound. No, this was deliberate, slow, like someone gently dragging their fingernails against wood. She lay frozen in bed, and it came from beneath her. The scratching moved, left to right, then stopped, then started again. She couldn't breathe. She waited for it to stop. Eventually it did. The next morning, there were scratches on the floor beneath the bed. Thin, shallow grooves in the wood, too even for rats, too strange for plumbing. She started sleeping with the lights on. Days passed. She tried to forget. Told herself it was the apartment settling, maybe some weird heating duct. But every night the scratching returned, and it got closer. One night she swore she heard breathing, not hers, heavier, just beneath the mattress. She didn't sleep. The real terror began when she got bold enough to check. One evening, armed with a flashlight, she stood beside her bed and slowly knelt down. Her hand trembled as she lifted the edge of the blanket and pointed the light under the frame. Nothing. Just dust and floorboards. She exhaled, shaky and embarrassed, smiled at her own imagination. She stood, clicked off the flashlight, and turned toward the bathroom. But then, she heard a voice right behind her ear, a whisper from the bed, low and slow. That was Rue. She screamed, fled the apartment, slept in her car. When she returned the next morning, everything looked normal, except the bed. It was no longer centered in the room. It had shifted 2 feet to the left, and beneath it, deep gouges in the floor, like it had been dragged by force. She didn't tell anyone. Who would believe her? But she stopped sleeping on the bed, dragged her blanket and pillow to the couch, slept with her back to the wall. That worked for a while, until she heard the couch. She was lying still, eyes closed, when she felt it. The pressure from beneath the cushions, like someone was slowly pushing upward from inside the couch, fingers pressing through the padding. She bolted up, ran back to the bedroom. It was the only place with a lock. She slammed the door, leaned against it, breathing hard, and then she heard it again, scratching. But this time it was coming from inside the mattress. She stared at it in horror. The sheets twitched. Something shifted beneath the fabric, a shape moving. She backed away. Then the voice returned. From the bed. Clearer now. You shouldn't have ignored me. She left the apartment that night, stayed with a friend, told them it was plumbing, noise complaints, something normal. But Harper couldn't sleep there either, because she kept dreaming of the bed. Dreams where she'd wake up paralyzed, unable to move, while something climbed up through the mattress. Dreams of cold hands wrapping around her ankles. Dreams where she wasn't alone in her body anymore. She went back to the apartment 2 days later, in daylight, and found her blanket beneath the bed, folded neatly. She hadn't done that. Then she saw her phone on the floor beside it. She picked it up. Battery dead. Plugged it in. Waited. When it turned on, she checked the camera roll. There were 5 new videos, all recorded between 2 and 3 a.m. In the first, she was asleep on the couch. In the second, the camera moved from the floor toward the bed. In the third, the view tilted like someone was crawling. In the fourth, the bed cover shifted. And in the final video, the phone was placed gently beneath the bed, facing outward. The last frame, a face, upside down, grinning, but with no eyes. She deleted the videos, but it was too late because now she hears it everywhere. In her friend's house, in hotel rooms, no matter where she sleeps, the whisper, the scratching, and the voice from beneath every bed. You brought me with you. Last week, she stopped checking under her bed. Now she just lies still, eyes shut, afraid to move. But last night, she made a mistake. She dropped her phone again. She reached for it too fast, and her hand slipped beneath the bed. She felt fingers. They didn't grab her. They held her hand gently, almost kindly, and the voice said, "Now you're mine. If you're still listening, don't check under your bed tonight. Tell me what time you're watching this and where you're from. I love seeing where you all are. Now, turn off your lights, settle in, and listen closely, because tonight's story is called The Whispering Closet." The house was never supposed to be permanent. Olivia had only rented it because she needed time to reset. After the divorce, the layoffs, and everything else, the little white house on the edge of the forest seemed like the kind of place no one would come looking for her. It was quiet, it was cheap, and it had a certain charm to it. The front porch sagged slightly, the windows were old, and the floor creaked like it was remembering things. But Olivia didn't mind. She just needed quiet. What she got was whispers. It started with the closet. There was only one in the whole house, inside the bedroom. Narrow, tall, and unusually deep. So deep that Olivia joked to herself, it probably used to be a pantry. The door was old oak with a tarnished brass knob that clicked when turned, even when it was already open. The first time she heard the whisper, she was half asleep. A slow, dragging breath. A voice that wasn't quite a voice. Too low, too soft, like someone breathing words into fabric. She sat up in bed, thinking maybe it was the wind outside. But there was no wind, and the whisper had come from inside the closet. She told herself it was a dream. The next night, it returned. Just as she was drifting off, a sound like someone murmuring behind the wall. No clear words, just syllables, like a mouth trying to remember how to form speech. She got up, walked across the bedroom, and opened the closet door. Darkness. She kept no clothes in there, no boxes. It was empty except for a single wooden shelf near the top. Still, the whispering stopped the moment she opened the door. And as she stood there, staring into the blackness, she thought she heard something retreat. The faint scuff of feet or claws, pulling back deeper into the shadows. She closed the door and went back to bed. But the whispering began again the moment her head hit the pillow. This time, she was certain it was coming from the closet. She moved her bed to the other side of the room the next day. Not because she was afraid, of course, just for better feng shui, she told herself. The space did feel more open, safer, distant. But that night, the whispers were louder, still indistinct, but closer, as if the voice was leaning out, reaching for her across the room. And this time, Olivia felt something different. Curiosity. She began to wonder, what was whispering? What could be hiding inside such a small space, speaking in tones that seemed designed not to be heard, but felt? The next evening, she left the closet door cracked open before bed. The house creaked, the trees outside rustled, and then, softly, the whisper began again. But this time it spoke her name. Not clearly, just a dragging, shivering rasp that formed the sound. She sat up, frozen, her mouth dry. And in the silence that followed, she heard the faintest laughter, not loud or cheerful, but the quiet chuckle of something amused at her fear. The door moved, not much, just a slow inch forward, like it had been pulled from the inside. She slammed it shut and locked it. But the whispers didn't stop. Now they came every night, always beginning just after she turned off the lights, always saying her name. Sometimes they said other things, things she couldn't understand. Words in no language she knew, but they were rhythmic, chanted, almost pleading. One night she recorded it, left her phone on her nightstand, let it run all night. The next morning she checked the audio, static, then creaking. Then, at 3:08 a.m., the sound of the closet door slowly creaking open, and then a whisper, chilling. Let me see. She deleted the file. Something changed after that. During the day, the closet began to smell. A sweet, sour odor like decaying flowers. She bought air fresheners, lit candles, but the scent clung to the air. And then came the dreams. Dreams of standing in front of the closet, unable to move. Dreams where something inside it was knocking. Knock, knock, knock. Soft and rhythmic, like a heartbeat in wood. And in the dreams, the closet door would open. But she never saw what was inside. Until one night, she did. In her dream, the door swung wide, and something crawled out. Not walking, not upright. It dragged itself with two long limbs, pale as candle wax, and a face that wasn't really a face at all. Just a mouth. Huge and grinning, stretched across where its eyes should be. And from the mouth came her voice. Olivia? She woke up screaming. After that, the noises changed. No longer just whispers. Now they included the sound of scratching, fingernails on wood, then tapping, then something heavy hitting the door from the inside. Bam, bam, bam. Every night, exactly at 3:08 a.m., she nailed the door shut, stacked a dresser in front of it. But at 3:08, she'd still hear it. Let me see. She stopped sleeping. Her eyes sunk into dark circles. She spoke to no one, canceled appointments, ate less, lived only in the hours before dusk. One afternoon, exhausted, she collapsed on the couch and fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. When she awoke, the sun was setting and the closet door was wide open. No nails, no dresser, just the empty dark inside. She couldn't speak. Her voice wouldn't work. And on the floor, leading from the closet to her bed, were wet footprints. She left the house that night, but the whisper followed her in hotels, in guest rooms, even in her car. Always at 3:08 a.m. Let's see. She lives in the city now, in a studio apartment with no closets, no shadows, lights on at all hours. But sometimes she wakes up to find her bedroom door open, even though she knows she closed it. And just last night, she heard something new. A whisper, not in her ears, but beneath her bed. The same voice, only this time, it didn't ask to be seen. It simply said, now I can see you. If you're still listening, don't forget to check your closet before bed. Tell me what time you're watching this and where you're from. I love hearing from you. And if you don't want to be alone the next time the whisper starts, subscribe, sleep well, and whatever you do, don't open the closet. It's been waiting long enough.